Angels Care Home Health, serving Hays and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
They're polite. I mean, they just take the time for you.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
I like the Angels for what they've done for me.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching, and thanks as always to editor and producer of our series, Jeff DeRoll. We're in the recording studio of the Department of Music and Theater in Malloy Hall on the campus of Fort Hays State University with Dr. Irena Ravitskaya, who is a Fort Hays State Associate Professor of Piano in the Department of Music and Theater. As we look to the season's inaugural concert of the Hays Symphony, the 103rd season of the Hays Symphony Orchestra, featuring almost exclusively Russian music this year as a tribute to the Volga-German heritage and cultural identity of Hays. The inaugural concert is Saturday, September 10th in the Schmidt Performing Arts Center, Sheridan Hall on the campus, and it begins with a gala and pre-concert presentation at 6:45 by Dr. Jeff Jordan, director of Fort Hays State Bands, and the event is free. One of those performers is Dr. Ravitskaya, who will join us today to talk about her work in the Department of Piano at Fort Hays State. By the way, the conductor of this year's gala will be Ben Klein, who is chair of the Department of Music and Theater, whom you'll meet later in another Community Connection. Dr. Ravitskaya, tell us about your journey to the United States from Russia.
My family immigrated in 1995. We settled down in Boise, Idaho. My entire family is here. Then I went to school and left for Indiana, studied at Indiana University in Bloomington. Then came back to Boise and taught at Boise State University for a few years, and then was hired by Fort Hays. And since 2008, I'm in Hays.
And originally came to this country in 1995, I believe, right?
Yes.
From what was then the Soviet Union.
Well, the Soviet Union declined in '91, so it was an independent state of Moldova, which used to be a former Soviet republic.
How did you find your way to music? Was there a family influence here?
Well, my mom wanted me to play piano, and when I was 6, she brought me to a music school, and I started.
But there was nobody in the family who was necessarily involved in music at the time.
No, my family was not musical. Both of my parents were engineers, but my mom always wanted to be able to make music.
Started at 6 then?
6, yes.
Was the piano the first instrument?
Yes.
Is that generally the case for parents who might be looking to start their children on a career of music, or at least introduce them to music? The piano's a starting point?
Yes, piano is a very good instrument to start with, because for other instruments, strings and wind instruments, children have to be either a little bit more mature when they're 5 or 6, or they have to be a little bit older. Mm-hmm. So piano is a perfect instrument.
Is 5 or 6 a good starting point?
Yes. Some children at 5 are very mature, and they can sit for a long time, like 15, 20, even 30 minutes, and they can practice at home. Some are more mature at 6. So I have students who are 5, and I have students who are 6.
I was going to ask you if you had some early students, because
yes,
I know you do,
I do.
Have lessons and do a lot of clinics and such.
Yes.
What is it that attracts children to music, specifically piano?
Well, piano is a unique instrument. You can use both hands, and you can create a simple tune on it. You can play simple tune, or you can play larger chords and create bigger sounds, louder sounds, or you can do both. You can play a tune and accompany yourself. So there are many possibilities, unlike any other piano, besides any other instrument. but we have also pedals, so you can play with the sound of this instrument more than with any other instruments.
Well, Dr. Ravitskaya, what kept you to the piano or drew you to the piano, or why did you stay with the piano then because of all the other options?
Well, I was inspired by my very first teacher. She was not a professional piano player, but she was in love with music, and music was her way of life. And so when we had lessons, she helped us to associate music with other arts or things in the world. So we painted music, we used colors, we created stories, and every piece was a way of telling a story using sounds, not words. And also music was a response to our emotions. So she taught us how to play in a sad mode or in a happy mode, and then gradually we became so involved with this storytelling that it just became a way of life for us, for her students, and I was one of them.
She was actually a choral director.
Yes, she was a choral director, but again, very impassioned by piano.
I love the way you integrated other parts of the arts into music. It really is an integrated foundation, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Even with older students, I try to find a way of explaining to them how music might communicate to their listeners, because we're all different. So some of my students like to create stories, some of my students see colors in music, and some of them just see an emotional input. So
now, you mentioned starting with the piano for parents. Do they then perhaps give the child an opportunity for introducing other instruments that they might be interested in?
Well, it might be a good idea, but it's very difficult to switch from one instrument to another instrument. It's like basically starting from the very beginning. So not very many children, unless they don't like playing piano, they might try other instruments, but in my experience, I had maybe 1 or 2 students in my career that didn't like the sound of piano and preferred the sound of other instruments. So my experience is that if you start on piano, you will never trade it.
Spoken like a true piano enthusiast, for
yes.
sure, Dr. Ravitskaya. So, if you would tell us about Russian music in general, because the theme this year that Shah has Sadikov, the conductor, has set is Russian music in an overall theme this year for the Hays Symphony. What is it about the influence of Russian music? We think that it goes back ages, but it's really much newer than that.
Yes, professional Russian music started only in the middle of the 19th century. However, music was an important part of people's life in Russia. So when professional composers, professionally trained composers in the 19th century like Tchaikovsky or Mussorgsky or Rimsky-Korsakov started composing, they inherited this vast plane of folk music of different regions of Russia. Russia is a vast country of many nationalities and minorities, and so they encompassed all of these types of folk music and storytelling, and that's why Russian music sounds so different every time when you hear it, because it might adopt some of the elements of features of national music. And at the same time, Russian people are very emotional, more than maybe people from more than people from any other parts of the world. So music is sort of an outlet for their emotionality and feelings, and that's why when you hear Tchaikovsky or Rachmaninoff, not only you feel the influence of all these national roots, but you also feel the emotional level or the emotional capacity of Russian soul, I guess.
It covers a lot, doesn't it? I mean, it's it's from the different cultures from the vast country of Russia, but it's also encompassing many emotions from those cultures as well.
Exactly.
That's the reason that it's so expansive, I guess.
Yes, very expensive, yes.
Well, talk about this piece that you're going to be performing, one of the most famous of the piano concertos.
Yes, Rachmaninoff's Second Piano Concerto is one of the most famous, not only piano concerti, but also pieces of classical music. It has been used in many Hollywood movies as background music for love scenes and departures and farewells. It was composed in the 1900s, and it has quite an interesting history. Rachmaninoff, when he was only 23 or 24, after he graduated from the Moscow Conservatory, he composed his very first large important piece, his first symphony. And it was performed unsuccessfully. He was disappointed with himself, and he was so upset that it developed into a depression. And so for a few years, he couldn't compose. So his family, worrying about him, hired a man whose name was Dahl, D-A-H-L. He was a therapist, and Rachmaninoff went through sessions of hypnosis. And gradually, in a few years, he started composing. So the second concerto is that piece that was born within his struggle in himself, and started an apotheosis of his belief in himself. And it starts with a wonderful piano solo introduction that imitates the sound of Russian bells. And then only after that, the orchestra started a wonderful melody. So that bell sound really announced his return to composition and to his writing.
Did the piece follow his transition and improvement through his period of depression, or did it come after the depression had ended, basically?
You know, if you know a little bit about writing a piece, usually it starts with some tunes, some ideas, some drafts, and then I think that what happened during the sessions that he had, therapy sessions, but I think the final draft was a result of his improvement, his health condition, his renewal.
How much practice time does Irene put in?
Well, 4 hours is a good time. Sometimes 5 is better.
Daily?
Unfortunately, daily, yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when you teach and when you have students and other responsibilities, at least 2 hours. If I am very busy, I try to squeeze in 2 hours.
But 5
ideally,
hours is
5 would be great.
If you would, in our final few minutes here, Dr. Ravitskaya, talk to parents about music and how the value of music lends to a child's life.
Well, based on my own experience, I really think that music makes better people. First, from the early on, music develops critical thinking and work ethics, and students are much more talented, or they're much more conscious of the surrounding world. They quickly learn how to read, write, count. It's very important for their early education. And then in addition to these critical thinking aspects of music, it is very important for children to experience the sound of very inspiring music. There is such a phenomenon as Mozart effect. When people growing up listening music of classical composers, especially Mozart, they become kinder, they become more they just become better. They can respond to music in a different way, and they learn how to manage their emotions. So music is just an essential part of music education, and I urge parents to take their children to teachers and involve them in music programs, not necessarily playing instruments, even singing, but any experience in music will make your children better people.
Beautifully said. Thank you. Looking forward to the initial concert of the Hays Symphony. The free gala takes place September 10th, beginning with Dr. Jordan's presentation at 6:45, and then a dessert reception follows. And, of course, Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, performed by the Forte State Associate Professor of Piano, Dr. Irena Ravitskaya, our community connection.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hays and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
And the Angel Care nurse comes to see me once a week.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
Angel Care has helped to stay home.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.